Good evening, good evening, good evening. And welcome to Talk Tuesday. Welcome to Talk Tuesday. Thank you for joining us. I want to welcome you again to Talk Tuesday, and we are excited about our topic tonight. We're going to talk about depression tonight. So I am going to get things going here. Remember, we are live on Facebook. We're live on Instagram. So we're going to make sure that we are straight here. All right. I apologize. Welcome to Talk Tuesday. Tonight we want, the joys of technology. Okay, there we go. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about depression, guys. Depression, which is a stigma that many don't like to discuss, many don't like to talk about it, and we know that, especially in our community, we tend to look at depression as this hush-hush thing that we don't talk about. A lot of times in households, and I know when I was growing up, there were things that you went through in your house, in your household, that you did not discuss. You didn't talk about it with anyone. Nobody discussed it, and especially when it comes to something as serious as depression. Depression is more common than you think. Depression is very common in our society today, and is serious. It's a very serious mood disorder, but there's less and less individuals that talk about depression. So tonight we want to discuss depression, and we are scheduled to have a special guest tonight to discuss their bout with depression, and so we hope we're still able to have that guest with us a little later on. But depression, remember, it is a mood disorder. It requires a clinical diagnosis, but there are several signs. There are several signs and instances where or where someone can tell maybe you are dealing with a little bout with depression. So I want to discuss that a little before we get with our guests, and knowing that depression happens with many things. There's many things that can cause you to experience depression in your life. We know that depression itself can be feelings of sadness. It can be feelings of anger, just things that brought about those feelings in your life. We want to thank our sponsor tonight. We're going to shout them out a little later on, but our sponsor tonight is Miss Reese Barnett, who is a licensed professional counselor. She is with the state of North Carolina and is nationally credited and certified with the National Board of Certified Counselors. She is actually local to us here in the Charlotte region. And she has her practice, which is roundtable coaching and consulting. And she is very, very, very passionate about mental health. And she believes in advocating to erase the stigma, and especially that stigma in the African American community. I will give her information a little later on, but she is currently accepting new clients, and she also offers a free 30-minute consultation. So you will have a resource after this session of Talk Tuesday. If there's something you think you're dealing with, even if you're not sure that it is what you're dealing with, I recommend that you seek out help, and there will be several resources coming your way, not only here on the TjuanaLorraine's page, but also on my website. We will have information listed for you, so don't think that you are alone in this bout to deal with depression. Remember that depression is treatable. Depression is treatable. So I just want to go over 10 signs that can kind of let you know if you may be dealing with a little bout with depression. Persistent sadness. If you just feel like you're sad all the time, you may have gone through some situations in your life. You may be experiencing some things in your life, and you just feel sad all the time. Like you can't get by. You can't get by that feeling of sadness. You have feelings of hopelessness, where you feel hopeless, you feel worthless, you feel some feelings of guilt. We go through things in our life, and sometimes, yes, life can give you some turns for the worse, and it doesn't always feel good. So you may be experiencing some feelings of hopelessness, some feelings of worthlessness. You may have had some things that didn't quite go your way, some goals that you did not or were not able to accomplish, some feelings of guilt. Maybe some things didn't go your way. Maybe some things happened in your life that you feel guilty about, and you're just not able to get past that feeling of guilt. Also, you have a loss of interest. You have a loss of interest in life. You have a loss of interest in the things that you like to do, the activities that you like to do. You just want to be by yourself. You want to stay to yourself. You don't want to deal with anyone or anything. You're just not interested in anything, right? So you have a loss of interest. You also may have some sleep disturbances. Maybe you're not able to sleep. Maybe you're not able to get that rest, and you find yourself you can't sleep for whatever reason. Your mind is constantly going, or all those things that we mentioned earlier just are causing you not to be able to sleep at night. Also, you may be experiencing difficulty with remembering, or experiencing difficulty with concentration. If you're experiencing difficulty with concentration on your job, in your home, with your family, with your kids, concentrating on yourself, whatever object that you have before you, if you find that you're experiencing difficulty concentrating on that, then that may be a sign that you want to take a look at. One that I don't like to talk about too often, but it must be said: if you're having any kind of suicidal thoughts, any kind of thoughts of hurting yourself, those may be a sign of depression. And definitely, we want to take a look at that. We want to not let that go unknown, right? We want to take a look at that and see, where can we take this to get this issue resolved? Because depression is treatable. We don't want to let it go without being treated, all right? So, one that I experienced myself personally is just this thing of fatigue. Like, you're irritated about everything. Like you're fatigued and you're irritated about everything. That is another sign of depression. Another sign that I experienced personally myself, weight loss and weight gain. Like, when you're feeling depressed or whatever, you may not have an appetite, and you don't want to eat, you don't want to sleep, you don't want to do anything, right? But on the flip side, if you're depressed, like, food may be your choice, your source of happiness. If you're dealing with things and you don't want to deal with them, food may be your source of happiness. So those are 10 things, 10 signs, and those are just a few, those 10. There are several more. But we also want to know that depression can cause significant impairment in your life. It can cause significant impairment in your day-to-day living. It can cause your day-to-day goings to be interrupted. You won't feel like doing anything. You won't do anything. But the one thing that you don't want to do is be in denial. I've had instances where many people have said to me, I'm not depressed. I'm not dealing with that. I'll get over it or whatever. And oftentimes we don't acknowledge it. We don't want to deal with the fact that, yeah, maybe we might have something going on, because we may feel less than, or may feel like, no, I that could never happen to me. But I'm here to tell you that you're not alone, and yes, it can definitely happen to you. You have mood symptoms, you have emotional symptoms, you have behavioral symptoms. You no longer find pleasure in your favorite activities. You may even resort to drinking or using drugs or engaging in high-risk activities. All of those things can affect your day-to-day life. You may have sexual symptoms where you might have a reduced sexual desire or lack of sexual performance. All of those things can affect your life. Like I said before, sleep, where you have insomnia, restless sleep, excessive sleeplessness, and not sleeping through the night. All of those are symptoms of depression. And along with that fatigue that we mentioned earlier, not only that fatigue, but you may have pains, you may have digestive problems, you can even have headaches, right? And those emotional feelings that you have, feeling empty, sad, hopeless, worthless, all of that, lack of interest, all of those things are key symptoms to knowing that you may be dealing with depression. So I want to see, let me see. Give me 1 second. Let me see if our guest is available to come on with us now. I definitely want you to hear his story, because we're actually from two different generations, and he had shared with some people about some things that he had been going through, and he stressed the issue of not letting this not letting this thing get you, and definitely not ignoring it, because ignoring all those symptoms that we discussed, ignoring the things that you're going through, will just kind of put you or set you back even more, and you will not deal with the issues at hand. So I definitely want you to hear his story. So let me see if we can get him on now. Give us 1 moment. Okay, so hopefully he'll be able to come on with us in just a moment. But I definitely want I definitely, so he's getting to a place where he can give us a call. So we're going to definitely hear his story in just a few minutes. We still have a few more minutes. But I wanted to mention also that there will be resources that will be available after this session of Talk Tuesday. We're even going to have blog posts that will be available after this session. I know my Talk Tuesday sessions have been, not been in sequential order with the topics. We've had some exciting topics and some very, very serious topics. And this is one of those very, very serious topics. But I knew that that it needed to be discussed and that it needed to be dealt with. And one of the things that I wanted to bring to the forefront is sometimes with depression, we kind of blame ourselves for the causes or why we're in this particular mood or why we're dealing with depression itself. But I want you to know that there are several different causes that depression comes from. There may even be a family history of depression. If you have a family history of depression, then you are at a higher risk of developing depression. And if you are not careful about it and not noticing those symptoms, some of those symptoms that we mentioned earlier, it may just sneak up on you. Now, I just want to, throw this disclaimer out there. I am not a licensed therapist. I'm not a doctor. I am none of that. I'm a coach, and I have life experience with depression. I know several people that has life experience with depression. So when you have dealt with depression, or if you have experienced anyone that has dealt with depression, then you kind of know some of the things that are there, and you know what to look for, and think those things are noticeable for you. Also, if you experience any early childhood trauma or, bad relationships in your early childhood and things like that, you may not necessarily know that you're dealing with depression, and you may not necessarily know what's causing some of the things that you're dealing with. But I've found that being able to talk about what you're dealing with and being able to address the problem at hand, instead of sweeping it under the rug, instead of denying it, because I know that that's one of the easiest things that we do is deny. We deny what we're dealing with. We deny that, any of this is happening to us, any of that. We deny that depression is real, that we're dealing with it, or we think, well, I'm not that typical person that would deal with depression. I can tell you firsthand that not only do women deal with depression, men deal with depression, women deal with depression, men deal with depression, children deal with depression. So it doesn't matter how strong of a man you are. It doesn't matter how manly you think you are. It could still happen to you. It doesn't matter how strong of a woman you are, how strong of a mom you are, how strong of a community leader you are. No matter what, you still can be, I'm not going to say a victim, but you can still deal with depression, okay? And certain medical conditions can put you at a higher risk, such as like a chronic illness, insomnia, chronic pain, and ADHD. Those things can also put you at higher risk of developing depression. Another issue is drug use, alcoholism, things of that nature. Any addiction can put you at high risk of developing depression. A history of drug and alcohol misuse can definitely impact your risk very heavily. And there's it says that about 30% of people who have a substance use problem also experience depression. So you not only have substance abuse, but you also, or substance use problem, but you also have this depression issue that comes on you as well. And in addition to those causes, other risk factors for depression include low self-esteem or being self-critical. We can always be so hard, too hard on ourselves, and sometimes so hard on ourselves where we're being self-judgmental, or when things don't go the right way for you, then you come down on yourself. You're too hard on yourself, and that can cause you to go into depression issues. If you have a personal history of mental illness, that can put you at risk for depression. Also, certain medications can cause you to go into depression. Stressful events in your life is a major thing, and I know all of us can attest to that. So if you've experienced loss of a loved one, if you've experienced economic problems, divorce, death, any of those things can cause you to go into depression. If you've lost a child, thank you, son. If you've lost a child, if you've lost a family member, if you lost your marriage, if you've lost your job, if you're having financial difficulty, any of that. So we have to be aware of our surroundings and be aware of the things that we're dealing with. And I like to say the things that we're battling with, because a lot of times those things can put us in a spiral where we have to acknowledge them and then deal with them. Okay? So there's many things that I want to leave you with tonight, but I also definitely, before we speak with our guests, I want to give you a depression test, okay? And there's a simple test that you can do to diagnose depression, but your doctor can make a diagnosis for you based on your symptoms and also a psychological evaluations. But in most cases, your doctor will ask you a series of questions. And those questions are going to be about your mood, about your appetite, about your sleep pattern, your activity level, and your thoughts. So what I want to do is just give you a few things to leave on your mind tonight. Because depression can be linked to other health problems, your doctor may also conduct a physical examination for you and order blood work for you. So sometimes thyroid problems or vitamin D deficiencies can trigger symptoms of depression. Don't ignore any of the symptoms, any of the things that we mentioned earlier. Do not ignore those symptoms. If your mood doesn't improve or you get worse, please seek medical attention and seek medical help. Depression is a serious mental illness with risk as well as complications. So if you don't treat it, if you don't acknowledge it, and you don't do anything about it, guys, if you leave depression untreated, then your complications can include weight gain or weight loss, physical pain to the point where your depression has started to affect your body and your body is just in pain. All right? Substance abuse problems, panic attacks, as well as relationship problems, social isolation. Again, we mentioned suicidal thoughts and self-mutilation earlier, but you want to take a look at those issues and you want to address them, right? So if you have any of the things that we mentioned earlier, again, I'm going to go over a few. Feeling depressed most of the day, loss of interest in most of your regular activities, if you have had a significant weight loss or weight gain, if you're sleeping too much, or if you're not sleeping enough, if you're slow at thinking, your cognitive skills are off a little bit, If you have a loss of energy, you just don't feel like doing anything. If you're fatigued and you have a low energy level most days. Again, if you have those feelings of worthlessness or guilt, all of those things need to be addressed. If you have a loss of concentration, if you have indecisiveness, like you can't make up your mind on anything, you're just up in the air about anything, guys. We want to make sure that we're not leaving this stuff untreated, okay? And most importantly, if you're having any recurring thoughts of death or suicide, let's get some help, guys. I wanted to bring this to your attention tonight because it's very important. It's very important. There's so many people. We've seen the stories over the last couple of years, especially some of the famous people, the celebrities that have committed suicide. I remember years ago when a lot of people lost their jobs and you had people jumping off of buildings because they lost money in the stock market, or they lost their jobs and they didn't know how they were going to be able to survive that lifestyle that they were used to, or people have experienced depression when they got divorced, or lost a parent or lost a child. You just never know what people are going through, but you definitely don't want to leave those things untreated, and you definitely don't want to ignore them. One of the things that my guest tonight wanted to speak about is the fact that you don't want to ignore them. Hopefully he's going to give us a call soon. If not, then we'll definitely get him back to hear his story. But he is within the millennial generation, right? So you don't want to think that this epidemic has an age on it. It's not just the elderly, that are isolated or alone or by themselves. It's not just the people that are going through midlife crisis, the empty nesters, those recently divorced, or recently lost their parents or whatever. Anybody can experience this, right? So you don't want to, think that depression has an age on it, because it doesn't. I know that once upon a time in his life, he was the star of the football team. He had life, everything going for him. And then just recently, he experienced his own bout with depression. So we definitely will hear his story. I know that I usually keep a timeline with Talk Tuesdays, and I don't want to keep you long, but I definitely want to get that information out. And like I said earlier, our sponsor for tonight's episode of Talk Tuesday is Miss Reese Barnett, and she has her practice here locally in Gastonia County. She's a licensed professional counselor with the state of North Carolina, and she is also nationally certified by the National Board of Certified Counselors. The name of her practice is Roundtable Coaching and Consulting. She is located at 1554C Union Road in Gastonia, 28054. I will also have her phone number listed. She is currently accepting new clients, and she does offer a free 30-minute consultation. So if you have any questions and not sure if this is something that you're experiencing or something that you're going through, and you just want to, kind of put a name to it, put a face to it, do that. I challenge you to get with Miss Reese or anyone that you feel comfortable with. Talk to somebody. Don't keep it to yourself. Do not let it go unacknowledged, and do not just leave it out there hanging and let it go any worse. Okay, so remember that if you have a topic that you'd like to have us discuss here on Talk Tuesdays, we're here on Tuesdays at 7 p.m., not only on Facebook, but as well as Instagram. You can shoot us an email at talktuesday@TjuanaLorraine.com. And we will try our best to get that topic on the air for you as soon as possible. We have several topics that are in line to be addressed, and there's issues that people want to talk about. There's issues that people are dealing with, and there's issues that we will take in consideration and get them on the airways. If you know of anyone that you think may have been experiencing depression or may have some of those symptoms that we mentioned earlier, please do share this live with them. It will be here on my Facebook page. It will be on my Instagram TV. It will be on my YouTube channel. And we may even list it on our blog on the website, because I do not want this information to be lost. I want it to be accessible to anyone that needs it. And like I say, if there's some questions that you may have after this broadcast tonight, please send me you could actually send me a text this week, because I'm not on social media as much. So if you want to send me a text, you can do that at 704-457-8777. I would definitely try my best to assist you and get you your questions answered, get you to the right people to assist you, and definitely try our best to get you the help that you need. We also have the suicide hotline number that we will be posting. So we don't want any resources to go unknown after tonight. And if you have, like I said, if you have any questions, please do shoot us an email, send us a message, however you want to get in contact with us. We're available on all platforms, and we are very accessible to be reached. Again, do not let this stigma go unnoticed. And if you are experiencing any symptoms, please do get with us. And hopefully you have liked our pages on Facebook and Instagram, and you get the notifications when we are available and when we're going live, so you do not miss this information. When our guest is available, I will definitely get him back, because I want you to hear his story. All right. So you guys have a great night. Thank you for tuning in tonight to Talk Tuesday, episode number 5, where we discuss tonight depression. I will be thinking about you guys. And like I said, if there's anything that I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thanks again, and you have a great night.